Hi everyone, welcome back to Where the Gnomes Live. Today I'm going to show you how I make my paper mache clay. This clay I mix in my kitchen with my hand beater and also with mixing with my hands. This clay has 3 ingredients: paper mache paste, which I have a video for here on YouTube. You can find the video up here. If you don't see a link up there, then look in the description box below. I just made a batch of this on film for you. And Drywall Compound, it's named different things in different stores. It's that stuff you put on drywall and then you sand down after it's dry. So some of that stuff. And finally some fiber paper insulation, which I picked up at my local home improvement store, a hardware store. And the bag is upside down, so I'm just going to do it this way. It's just weather shield, this stuff. There's all different brands. Any brand will do, as long as you have this fiber stuff here. This is pretty cheap. This bag here cost me about 14 bucks. Worth it for me because I use a lot of paper mache clay. When you're working with this stuff, a lot of dust flies around, so I would keep a window open or put on a little paper mask. Keep it out of your lungs would probably be the best idea. This clay is ideal for building things such as mushroom houses. I did the entire mushroom cap in tin foil first, and then I covered it with this clay, and you can see it turned out beautifully. The walls I did with paper mache, and then I covered the walls with this clay as well, and that just gave a really nice finish. It's paintable. You can cut through it if you need to make windows and doors and things like that. So I love this clay. I also use it on my fake bark now. I pull it along my fake bark to give some texture. I also make little characters with it. Now, with that being said, I'm not sure this is the best clay for making characters, so if you are just beginning, you might not want to use this clay to make mice or anything like that. For you, if you're just starting out, it would probably be best to get a thing like Sculpey clay or some pre-made store-bought clay that would be easier to work with and wouldn't take so long to make things. I made these mice with this clay. I made them with tinfoil first, then covered with the clay, and then I covered with the process called flocking. My goal is to eventually get all my characters uploaded here to YouTube as well, and I can show you how I made them. So that's why I'm bringing you this paper mache clay, so I can have something to reference to, tell you what I've used in those videos. So I've made these mice, and I also made this disgusting little troll. His name is Louie. He's a stone mason here at the gnome home. He does all the stone work for the gnomes. So I made him as well with tin foil first, and then I covered him with clay. Many layers of clay. So you do a layer and then you dry it, then you do a layer and then dry it. So it's a build-up process and it takes a long time, but the end result is fantastic. I've dropped Louie many times and he's never cracked or never broken, so the clay is very, very strong. And this stuff will last in your fridge in a airtight container from anywhere from a week to 2 weeks. I've had it last a little bit longer, but I want to say 2 weeks is tops because that's when it starts to get moldy. Any mold at all you see, you have to throw the clay away. You can't use anything with mold in it. And between layers, before you paint anything like a mushroom cap, you have to dry it thoroughly. So a big thing like this can't go in the oven, so I would just put fans around it and dry it. Sometimes it takes 2 to 3 days to dry. So you want to make sure that this clay is completely dry before you add any things to it, such as paint or a seal or anything like that. You want to stay as far away as you can from mold. Once mold sets in, then your project will be ruined. So like I said, my goal here on YouTube is to upload everything I've done to make my gnome home and my mushroom home. All the steps, all the characters, all the furniture. So that's why I'm doing this paper mache clay video today, so I have something to reference to in those upcoming videos. So I hope you enjoyed the video today. I don't want you to be intimidated by this process. It's really easy. If you have those 3 ingredients, the paste, the drywall compound, and the fiber insulation, then you're good to go. And you can make yourself something really cool. Okay, let's make that paper mache clay. We're going to start with 6 cups of paste. If you haven't used your paste in a while, make sure you stir it up first. One cup of drywall compound. So before we continue on to the next step, make sure you rinse out this container that moved your drywall compound, because once this dries, it'll be really hard to clean up. So rinse it all with hot water and we'll continue on with the next step. So next we're going to mix the compound and the paste together and mix it thoroughly so there's no clumps of compound in this paste left at all when you're done. Okay, now our paste and compound is thoroughly mixed together. We're going to add our fiber. We're just going to drop in some handfuls at a time. Try to break it up as you put it in there. Okay, and now we're just going to mix this with our mixer. Okay, I mixed that first bit about 1.5 minutes, and I use this to pull it off the sides. Just make sure it's really mixed. Now we're going to add in more. That's far from done. So that was about another 1.5 minutes of mixing. I'm going to add in some more. This is far from done. So at this point it's probably going to be a little bit more difficult for the mixer to work, so I'm just going to push this down and see how far I can get that mixer to go for me before I have to stop and use my hands. So I'll stop now using the mixer because it'll end up burning up the motor. Okay, I still need to mix it. This isn't quite clay yet. It's very, very wet still, although it looks like it's clay. When you feel it, it just feels wet. So I'm going to add in some more fiber, and then I'll just go to work mixing it up with my hands. And if I end up putting too much fiber in and it gets too dry, I can always just put in more paste. So I've been mixing this for about 15-20 minutes with my hand. My hands are getting tired. I'm not really liking the texture of this. I think what I'm going to do, I've done this before, I'm just going to add a little bit more drywall compound to give it a little bit more of a clay texture. So you can see it's just kind of like you have to go by feel. So I'm just going to put a handful of drywall compound in there and work that in there and see if that helps. So there it is. I mixed for another 10 to 15 minutes with my hand. Got a little tiring, but it's definitely doable by hand. And if you can roll it into a ball and it doesn't stick to your hands and it doesn't crumble, then you got yourself a workable clay. If you had one of those industrial mixers attached to a drill and you could mix this up even more, that would even be better. But this, as it is definitely workable. This is the consistency I use to cover my mushroom houses. The end result is very good, very strong. It's paintable. So if you're not going to use this clay right away, you put a lid on it and stick it in the fridge, and there it should keep for a week or even longer. I think after 2 weeks it's probably going to start going bad. So there you go. I hope that helped get you through that part of the clay making and got you started on your own creative projects. Thanks so much for watching, and have fun!